Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Golf and Politics. We've been MIA for a few weeks. First and foremost, I've had to do a lot of work. Rob, you've had to do a lot of work too. And the reason for our podcast tonight is we are going to talk about the 14th annual Majority Cup that happened at Robert Trent Jones Golf Club in Virginia and also at Fox Chapel in Pittsburgh. And we're going to get into that. And if you're ever thinking about hosting a corporate outing, you're going to want to listen to this episode because there's nobody in America that does it as good as Rob Ellsworth. And so Rob will get into that. But brother's been, even though we haven't been recording as much as we have liked, we've seen each other quite a bit in the last month, starting at MG Cup. And then last week we were together in Austin. We played the University of Texas Golf Club, which you had played before, correct?
About 10 years ago.
Yeah. I love the golf course. And I just, anything in the Texas Hill Country, I like that kind of golf. Briggs Ranch is one of my favorite golf courses. I just think it's fun golf. It's unique. It's beautiful landscape down there. And I thought it was a great course. I thought it was a lot of fun. Unfortunately hurt your wrist a little bit. Hopefully you're recovering from that. But it was sad to see you have that pain. I mean, it's so hard to aggressively go after a shot when you think when it jars the wrist so hard like it was.
Right. Yeah. I went in to see an orthopedic surgeon today who's a member at my club, and I've played golf with him several times. And he thinks it's a ligament. I got to get an MRI. Hopefully it's just a sprain or something that I can get away with, occupational therapy or physical therapy, whatever they end up doing for it. But luckily he did an x-ray in his office and there's no structural damage anywhere. So I'm going to just kind of take it easy on it a little bit. I am going to try to play next week at a beautiful course in Tulsa, Southern Hills.
That's why I got my fingers crossed, man. I you booked your flight, and friend of the program, Keegan Barayan's coming in. We're working on a campaign together, and we have some meetings, but we're going to sneak out and play. And I'm glad you're flying in, and I hope your wrist is in good shape. The course is looking in great shape. We just did family pictures over there tonight, and the course is going to be in fantastic shape. It's going to play firm and fast when you're here.
I've been to Tulsa twice with you, and I always enjoy it. I have just one wish for Tulsa. Beyond just having a Democratic district, congressional district, which is wishful thinking. But there are no good flight times. They either come in super late or too early. And then the following day, they either leave at 6 or 7 a.m. or super late. And so when you're coming as a guest of somebody, you're like, gosh, I'm sure they don't want me to show up at 3 o'clock, nor do they want me to stay the next day until 3 o'clock. So it's, I went through every single airline and I finally was just like, you know what, I'm going to go with what works the best and pay the extra money. But I'm so pumped. I'm looking forward to seeing Southern Hills.
The air travel in and out of Tulsa is the one thing that's more difficult. I like living here more than I like living in Fort Worth. And that's not a slight on Fort Worth. I think Fort Worth's a fantastic place to live. And I loved growing up in the Valley, and I loved living close to Columbus, Ohio. I've liked every place I've lived. But the air travel here is difficult. I mean, there's oftentimes just getting to Pittsburgh, they want you to, connect through Las Vegas. It just doesn't make sense. Even going to Austin to see last week, we do have on Southwest a direct flight every day to and from Austin. It's just the times didn't work out for me I would have to be there multiple nights with our golf schedule when we were there, which, by the way, we didn't mention. The MG team won the Cap City Kids charity golf outing in Austin.
I think
2 years in a row for your team, right? I was glad to be a part of this year's team.
2 years running, and kudos to Amherst Holdings. They're a great client of ours. Sean and Ginger and the team put on just a fantastic charity golf tournament every October at Barton Creek in Austin, Texas. And Cap City Kids, it's not just a charity that they're raising money and giving to, the CEO, Sean, they founded the charity out of a response to Hurricane Katrina in 2005, when a lot of displaced kids from New Orleans and in the Gulf Coast ended up in the Austin area. And Sean and his team put together this charity, and the work they do for kids in the greater Austin area is just absolutely incredible. From school supplies, um, medical supplies, making sure kids have transportation to school, which is something that a lot of us take for granted.
That's right.
And it, they've raised, I think, around $700,000 this year, which was a record. But um, the next best story out of this year's tournament was the play of Matt Parker and John Potter, and the putting display from Brad Cheney.
Oh man,
I don't and I take credit for Brad's putts because I talked some shit about him on the
you
putting game.
you did.
Uh, he was talking about, whatever the hell he was talking about, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, he's a bad putter." And then he just starts jamming them in the back of the cup like a downhill 30-foot eagle putt. I mean, we had John Potter draining a, I don't know,
49 yard shot on the
49-yard
last
shot
hole we played of the day, which was number 11, I believe.
for eagle with a wedge. I mean, those are the kind of shots you have to have go in to win those
Hmm.
things. I mean,
Absolutely.
we won by one stroke, and yeah, we left some out there, but if you really think about the number of things that went in for us, it was pretty
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah,
No, I mean, note to our viewers, Brad is having back surgery, this week, correct?
Friday.
Friday.
Yeah.
He's having back surgery, so he was unable he cannot swing a golf club, but he drove me around the golf cart both days, and we had some just great conversation. I love Brad. We disagree on a lot of things, but I tell you what, he's a good friend, and we had a lot of really interesting discussions on everything from politics to religion to family, and he's just a salt of the earth guy, and had a blast with him, and he putted the lights out. Like, I mean, he didn't just make the putts, he broke the hole. I mean, it's like we had the first one he made was from about 30 feet. It hits the back of the cup, goes straight up in the air about 6 inches, right back down in the hole, and that
Oh,
just really set us up.
it was a horrendous putt. Like, I mean, had it not drilled the back of the hole perfectly in the center, it would have been in Mexico.
And we'll be having Brad on in the coming days. Tomorrow is election day in Virginia and in New Jersey. Also election day in Ohio for GMP Cup team member Matthew George running for re-election for judge. So we wish him well tomorrow. But we'll have Brad on to do an election recap, especially in Virginia. He's intimately involved in the governor's race there, and we'll be interested to hear his thoughts on that. I also, Rob, I mean, John Potter, that's the first time we got to spend serious time with him. What a fantastic human being. Enjoyed that trip immensely, and we definitely need to get him on the podcast as well at some point.
Yeah, John is, such a smart guy, interesting, very caring. I know when I was going through all of my treatments, his wife Sharon is also a cancer survivor, and he would check in on me regularly. John is one of those interesting folks, when you talk about relationships. I mean, he's a friend first and foremost. He's a colleague, he's a client. We all have our hands in a lot of different businesses, but on one Zoom call, John and I will be consultants to a third party, and then on another one, I'm his, he's my client, and I'm giving advice or taking orders, um, and vice versa. I've sent him clients, he sent me clients, and but really we enjoy spending time breaking bread or playing golf, and he's just a good dude.
He really is. I mean, and that's what honestly, it gives me hope for our podcast, and it gives me hope for our country because we don't agree. I mean, we don't agree on a lot, but I mean, what divides us politically was not at the forefront of the 2 days that we spent together. Did we talk about politics? Yes, but, like, there was a respect amongst everybody, and I really appreciated that because I was the only Republican on on the trip, and, I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better couple days, and so
Well, and I think when people that do it for a living, when there's no camera on, we tend to talk about politics more from the business angle and more from like the operative angle, where it's like I can listen to, I can overhear your calls, and I've had that same call hundreds of times. Just and really, it's not that different.
what's
So,
interesting is that we both Democrats and Republicans have problems in primaries and inter-party skirmishes that happen that I think are just as frustrating on both sides when you're trying to get things
well,
done and get somebody
when
elected.
when you think about it, you have more fights with your party than I do on a daily basis
Very
because
much, especially
you
living
know
in
it,
Oklahoma.
in Oklahoma, and I'll tell you what, there's the most frustrating battles I've had as a Democrat has been with Democrats. I've always been sort of on the moderate to conservative end of the Democratic Party. And I've had more battles with liberals and with labor unions and environmental groups than I have with just about anybody else, simply by trying to get them to come to the table and negotiate.
Mhm.
And it's it's brutal. And
Yeah,
I think that what the only thing I know that works is if you approach problems as opportunities, you'll get a better outcome. And if you approach stakeholders as partners instead of enemies, you'll get a better outcome. And if you truly do focus on where you agree instead of opening up with the haymaker of disagreement or personal attack, you're going to do a lot better
uh-huh.
and you're going to get to where you want. The problem where we are right now is that the incentive structure politically is more aligned to reward somebody for making the other side look bad than for making themselves look good.
That's true.
Heaven forbid we make each other look good. I mean,
Yeah,
heaven forbid we do that. That's a
yeah.
non-starter. And
What drives ratings, what drives emotions for voters. I mean, we can spiral down along tube here on thinking of why that is, but ultimately, it's a market-driven decision. Voters are going to get what they want.
well,
Um
look at sports. Uh Stephen A. Smith, you know, uh pardon the interruption, around the horn, where you got people with varying views in four different boxes just yelling at each other. They started that first. ESPN did.
Uh-huh.
Um, then all the cable news networks copied it because argument and confrontation is good for ratings.
That's right.
And so they want that. They want you to be like pumped up and amped up and going after each other. And it may be good for ratings, but it's bad for all of our blood pressure
That's true.
and it's not leading to better outcomes.
Well, and that's why I'm glad on our show, we do have times where we have those knockdown dragouts, and I'm sure we will again in the future, especially since we're planning a airing of grievances part 2 for Rob Ellsworth, which I'm sure will be epic at some point. But look, the beautiful thing about us is that we do this for fun. Like, yeah, do we want to make money at this someday? Yeah, sure. But this isn't our livelihood. So we can afford to not always go down that path and find things we agree on. And one last thing, Rob, before we get into the MG Cup, we do have to just shout out the Pittsburgh Steelers for the defense. The highest paid defense in the NFL finally showed up. I think the Colts had 3 turnovers all year before Sunday, and they had 6 on Sunday, so
Yeah, yeah,
awesome game for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
4 in their first 8 games and then 6 against the Steelers. And I kudos to Coach Tomlin and our defensive coordinator, Terrell Austin, who I was ready to fire last week.
So was I. We both were in
And
Austin. We had already moved on. We thought it was just a
well,
foregone conclusion.
the big change they made this week, and finally they made an adjustment, is we played zone 70% of the snaps. And I think they finally realized that even with our highly paid big name secondary, they're just too old to be out on an island
Uh-huh.
in man coverage with their backs turned to the quarterback the whole game. And so they played a lot more zone. They kept the football in front of them, and uh, I think it confused Daniel Jones because I think he was ready for a lot more man coverage. And then they moved Jalen Ramsey to safety, and it reminded me of like what the 49ers and Ravens did with Rod Woodson when he got into his mid 30s. In your mid 30s, you can't keep up with a 23-year-old.
Uh-huh.
You can't. Not on every play. Um, and so putting him at safety and really focusing on running different looks and zone coverage, I think was a good adjustment. I just wanted to see any adjustment.
Yeah, no, it
And
was great. It was good to
and then
see.
Alex Highsmith got a lot of pressure on the quarterback. That freed up um, TJ Watt, who had a great game. I was getting worried the last couple weeks for all the money we have tied into TJ, and I love TJ Watt.
Sure.
But he and Cam Hayward are two of the only guys on the team that to me are like real Pittsburgh Steelers. Um, but he showed up, and we need him to show up a hell of a lot more.
Yeah,
But
no, he's really
Aaron
good.
Rodgers he can still spin it. I mean, he's
Hey,
older than me. He's older
eh,
than me.
they were talking about Daniel Jones as a potential MVP candidate coming into the game. Who would you
Uh,
rather have as your quarterback, Daniel Jones or Aaron Rodgers? I'm taking Aaron Rodgers all day long. I mean, he
Dude,
is
all day long.
Aaron Rodgers has done nothing but perform all year. I think that our defense has really put us in some bad spots. I will tell you this, my favorite moment of that game was actually in the second quarter, the Steelers down the red zone. Aaron Rodgers is rolling out to his right. There's nothing open. And it's like it's almost like I could read his mind. Oh shit, I have to run this football. And he starts running for the end zone and he realizes like I can't slide, I can't run out of bounds. I can't really lower my shoulder, and he just kind of braces himself for the hit that he was gonna take. And there's no way at 41 he wanted any of that smoke down there at the goal line.
No, I mean your recovery time is
Oh yeah, he felt it
your
this morning. I'm sure.
recovery time is slower. But one thing I'll say for him is on several plays yesterday and throughout the season, when he's had to get loose, he's not slow. I mean,
Yeah,
he
no,
can
he's
still
still
kind of,
athletic. I mean, he's an
I mean,
athlete.
he can still move. I mean, he's not obviously not Josh Allen or
Right.
he never was Lamar Jackson,
Never
but
was, but
but he gets rid of the ball. He's got a quick release. He gets rid of it, but he's way more mobile than Ben was his last 2 seasons,
yeah,
and he can still spin it, man. I mean,
he can. And he's just
yeah,
he's so stinking smart, just knows the game of
yeah.
football. Um, Look, I think Steelers gave away a couple that they didn't need to, especially the Bengals game, but it's a long season. I like where we're at, and if you'd have told me at the beginning of the year it would be 5-3 at this point, I would have taken it. So,
Hell yeah,
let's roll. All
yeah.
right, let's get into MG Cup. This is the 14th year that you've hosted this corporate outing for your firm, the Majority Group. Call it the Majority Cup. That's not just a streak, that's a dynasty of epic outings for all these years. So, how did this all start? And be honest, when you first started it, did you ever foresee it becoming what it's become today?
Absolutely not. Like, I mean, in the first year, there were, I think, 8 or 12 of us. 12 of us. We had 3 foursomes. I got everybody shirts and hats. We got drunk. Uh, Chris Kruger somehow broke a windshield on a golf cart. Um, I can remember Patty, my finance director, calling me and saying, I noticed in the bill you sent me, there's a shattered golf cart windshield. How do I expense that? And I was like, no, 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 cut that one out. I'll pay for that one personally. So, um, it just started as something fun, and we put the logo on the shirts and hats. And I think of the original 12, I maybe invited like 2 or 3 clients, and the rest were just buddies. And last 2 weeks ago, we had 44 golfers on Friday, and we had 52 for dinner. So it's just, it's really grown. I didn't think about that. You probably saying the same thing too when you started your businesses. Yeah, in that first year, you're not thinking about year 14. You're thinking about the end of the year.
Mhm.
You're thinking about how do we get to year two?
There's times
Let
I'm
al-
still thinking that,
Hell
all
yeah,
these years in business.
absolutely, hell yeah, and so no, I didn't. I never thought it would grow to where it has, and it's taken on more of a meaning each year, incorporating the charitable element with Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation for Pediatric Cancer Research. Um, and we still have donations rolling in, but we had a couple big checks come in from corporate clients lately that are pushing us closer to our goal. And then Brad and I will write a big matching check at the end of the year. So we didn't raise as much as we did last year, but we're going to end up well over $50,000 for this event after all the checks are cashed and cleared. Last year, I think we did like close to 80,000. So a little bit off this year, but it's okay. We still had a great time, and money's going to a good cause.
Well, so talk about that. I mean, when did you start tying the event to a mission like this to raise money for childhood cancer? And how was that received with your clients, and how has that grown? I mean, it's down a little bit this year, but still raising $50,000 for childhood
Yeah.
cancer is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, the first year I think we started incorporating the fundraising was 2019. And I hate to say that it was the year that I was diagnosed. Um, but I can remember we had several of these under our belt, and it just felt like we should be doing something good out of that other than just entertaining clients and friends of the company. And, you know, those are in building business. Those are all great goals. And even if there wasn't a charitable element, but you start to really think, it's a lot of privileged. We're all privileged,
Yeah, for sure.
and we all have the ability to, fly in on a Thursday and play golf for 4 days and at really nice places. And we all have the best equipment money can buy. We all are well traveled. And, I feel like when you get a group like that together and you don't ask anything of them, it's probably not a good thing. Like I think that there should be, some sort of responsibility and commitment from each of us to do something good other than just drink beer or play golf. But for this specific charity, Alex's Lemonade Stand, um, really the impetus for it was I remember how terrible recovering from chemo treatments were and immunotherapy and surgeries and radiation. And then you walk by and you see a small kid going through it. And for me, personally, my good friend Pat Stewart, he's now the general manager of the University of Nebraska Lincoln football team. He's went to Indian Creek High School, was a scout for the Patriots and the Eagles and the Panthers and Ohio State. I officiated his wedding to his wife Whitney. We've been friends since 7th grade. Their oldest son was diagnosed with a very serious form of cancer as a child. I saw what he went through um, from his treatments, um, very powerful steroids, where kind of blows your face out. I
Mhm.
had that. And you see somebody, a young kid going through that. And as much as I could not stand going through those treatments, I would take his for him. You see a kid even in the hospital and you'd be like, I would take your treatment for you if I could.
Yeah.
Um, and so I started researching different groups, and I just love the story behind Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation, the work they do on the most underfunded, both privately and publicly, form of cancer research. There are 121 different types of cancer. Pediatric cancer research is the most underfunded of all of them somehow. And the work that ALSF does goes beyond just research because they understand that these families, they can't just wait for a cure. They've got problems right now.
Yeah.
So you've got families that um, are having trouble getting their kids to and from the treatments because they have to work. Um, you've got families that are dealing with medical bills and other costs, and can't afford Christmas presents. And so ALSF will do everything from like funding the research, but also directly helping families deal with day to day problems that they can feel right now.
Gotcha.
And that's what I loved about the charity. They have an A+ rating. You know, 98% of all the money that comes in is going directly to the cause and not to overhead, thanks to some far more wealthy people than me that
That's
write big
great.
checks.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, it's a cool organization, and it's something that touched me personally, and that I've lived through and I've witnessed in others. And just the thought of a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old kindergartner um, having to deal with this shit, just
Yeah.
it's unacceptable.
Well, when you're here in Tulsa, I'm hoping that I can introduce you to my neighbor. His name is Mike Carter, and Mike was Bill Self's agent way back in the day, the basketball coach, and he got the job at Oral Roberts University. Well, after he got the job at Oral Roberts, they were in search of a new athletic director. Long story short, Mike became the athletic director at ORU. And so he had a lot of connections in the sports world. And he had a son that died of childhood cancer. And when they were going through the treatments, Make-A-Wish Foundation said, "You want to go to Disney World?" He's like, "No, I want to meet professional athletes." And he became like this little celebrity, if you will, because all the professional athletes loved him. And so he ended up making connections with everybody from Muhammad Ali to Jack Nicklaus to Tiger Woods, Troy Aikman, on and on. And actually, the Carter family literally has the largest sports memorabilia collection, I believe, on planet Earth of stuff that they've signed. And so the Carter Found Scott Carter Foundation, his name was Scott. They host the largest charity golf outing that I've ever been a part of every year in Tulsa. They run Indian Springs Golf Country Club in Broken Arrow. It's got 36 holes, and they max it out for the morning and the afternoon, plus have a huge gala dinner at Southern Hills the Saturday before the golf outing. So there are people like you that care, and I think you would love meeting them. And what I want to say is, when you come to Tulsa next week, I am hoping that it works out, that not only do we play golf at Southern Hills, but we're hopefully going to play the West Nine as well and do a Birdies and Big Ideas with Keegan Brand, and hopefully raise more money for Alex's lemonade stand. Appreciate you doing that, Rob, and I hope that this event continues to raise more and more money for it every year.
Hey, I appreciate you. I mean, you wrote a very generous check, and
Mhm.
Casey Lang wrote a generous check, and Nick, and a lot of guys from our Ireland trip, incredibly generous.
Well,
And
I plan to give more because I know I won't win every
oh,
hole when we when we play next week. But we're gonna do more with birdies and big ideas, and hopefully have a great time, and hopefully inspire our listeners
well,
to go
with
and
the
do it.
event, I go above and beyond um, on making sure that the golf and the swag and everything are really good. The only buy-in from everyone else, other than some cost up front, is tip the caddies well and donate to the charity. That's the ask. And and having an event that's fun and that people want to come back to year after year after year. Um, I think I think we're down a little bit this year, and I'm going to end up writing a bigger check than I had anticipated for the charity, largely because I got a lot of complaints last year that people didn't like the mulligans and automatic eagles and automatic birdies, which we were selling in aptly named F cancer bundles,
Mhm.
for like a grand for like a package of that. In the last several years, I sold a ton of those for the tournament. And this year, I just decided to ask everybody to just write a check or donate online instead of attaching things to the golf matches. And I think that was a mistake on my part, because I think more people would have purchased bigger charitable packages. So I learned a valuable lesson on that one. Even though those things can be annoying in matches, last year, what made it even was that, like Google came through and stroked a big check and said, we would like to buy a certain number of these F cancer bundle packages to give to players that maybe couldn't afford to give as much. And that really evened it out. It might have messed with the matches. It got to the point where, like, I know in my match last year, we won because we more strategically used our mulligans and our auto birdie and auto eagles. And we ended up winning our match based on
Well,
strategy
let me
more
tell you
than.
something. If you're coming into the MG Cup because you're so concerned about winning and whether or not the
Yeah,
F Cancer bundle was going to skew the match in your opponent's favor,
exactly.
then you're there for all the wrong reasons. And I think
Exactly.
this is advice, maybe unsolicited advice, is that sometimes the people that complain about things are just a loud minority.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you this, like the people that I associate with that were MG Cup, there wasn't one person that's ever complained about anything because you do everything first class. And that it actually leads me to another question. A lot of people, when they do corporate outings, they're only inviting their clients. It's all business. I find it very interesting that, and maybe I'm off on the numbers and you can correct me, but it seems to be about 80% of the people there are just your friends and 20% are clients. Maybe it's a different mix, but obviously, guys like me, I'm not a client and I'm there. Casey Lang's not a client, he's there. And yeah, we pay for our greens fees and our hotel and things like that to come, but you give us so much more value beyond that. Tell us, how has that helped your business? Because I think that there's a secret there, is that because of that outing, I believe that anytime I run across people, and I run across people that need Democratic lobbyists in DC. Who am I gonna refer? I'm gonna refer Rob Ellsworth because I'm at his event every year, and I wear MG Cup on the side of my hat and the great swag that you give. So, where was well, you said in that first one there was 2 clients and maybe 10 friends or, whatever.
Yeah.
How has that how has that helped you in business by
So
having
I
an event
I
that
would
way?
say of the 51 people that were there Friday night for dinner, probably actually I do know this for 18 of them were directly relevant to business. So they are clients, um, they're targets, to be clients, and the rest are a mixture of family and friends. And here's why I do it that way. In our line of work, it's so personal.
Mhm.
So when somebody hires me to be their eyes and ears, I'm involved in virtually every aspect of their business and every aspect of their life. And as a consultant, you want to keep that relationship, and you have to make it, to survive 14 years. You have to make it as personal as possible for the times, like, frankly, now, where, it's not the most marketable time on earth to be a Democratic lobbyist. So I invest time in those personal relationships to become not an outside consultant to their business, but part of their business, not a friend of their family, but part of their family.
Mhm.
So when I go visit them, like, I become friends with their wives or their husbands, with their kids. I get to know all their partners and investors and businesses and really try to become entrenched. And this is a chance for me to do that on the reverse. So whether they come for 1 day or all 4 days, they're getting to meet my brothers-in-law, my nephew, my uncle, my podcast co-host.
Great meeting your uncle. Grew up on Brightway in Weirton, West Virginia, the
Yeah.
same
And
street that I did. I used to walk past the house that he grew up in, the house that your dad grew up in, every day on my way to elementary school.
I mean, it's such a small, I didn't even know that until a couple months ago. But really what I'm doing is, for me, for Brad, for Shelly, for Ann, for Aaron, for our team, is I'm welcoming my clients into my world
It's good.
with
Yeah.
with my best friends, with my family, at my favorite places, with my favorite things. And so, yes, there is a marketable thing of like, you know, it is a Rob Ellsworth fest in many ways, but that's what they're hiring.
Right.
They're hiring me or Brad or whoever in our organization. And so I want them to leave that tournament knowing that if I'm willing to put the time and energy into every single detail into a charity golf tournament for a cause that's personal to me, imagine what I'm going to do for you when you're the one paying me.
Yeah.
And so the way the math for the event works is, non-clients and family, etc., they pay for their golf and their lodging and then like a portion of transportation and other associated costs. But it ends up being cheaper for all of you than going to Pinehurst for four
Oh, yeah.
days or to Bandon Dunes for 4 days. And so it's a win for you guys. Then for my clients, I pick up everything, obviously. And then we ask them and all of you to contribute to the charity. And so the overhead is high, but if we get, even if we just get one new client out of the deal at a very handsome retainer monthly, the event pays for itself relatively quickly. And then if you have that client for a long time, it pays for itself in
Absolutely.
perpetuity. So we've already got 2 commitments for new clients that Brad and I were really hoping to land out of this, um, that are coming on board as we speak. And I
That's great.
actually looked at a contract the other day. So from this standpoint, was it the most profitable yet? No, but it's paid for itself and it'll be really good. As for the non-clients who show up, like you said about your hat, um, a good friend of mine who hasn't been able to play the last couple years, but played in many of them before that and wants to come next year. He is not in politics, was wearing MG Cup swag in an airport, having a casual conversation at the bar in the airport with some guy who was like, "What's Majority Group?" And he's like, "Oh, it's my buddy's lobbying firm in DC." And he was like, "No kidding." He's like, "I need help. Is there any way you could put us in touch?" He was telling him about me, telling him about the event. Well, that guy ended up becoming a client. He's been a client for 5 years, and I won't say what they pay us, but it's a very, very,
Yeah.
let's just say it paid for multiple MG Cups.
Yeah. The shirt was a good
So
investment, is what you're saying. The
that
pullover,
sure was a
whatever
good
it is there. Yeah.
investment. And even if it's a subtle logo on the slot on the side or on a sleeve and nobody really knows what majority, as long as it starts the
That's
conversation,
right.
you never know who's going to need help or who's going to need something. Because
Absolutely.
as a lobbying firm, I view this event as our total annual marketing budget. For a lobbying firm, you want to stay out of the news. If a lobbying firm is in the news and in the story, it's a bad story. Like it's not a victory. So whenever something good happens for my clients, I want them to get the attention and for them to get the credit. Um, we don't want to be the story. So this is our annual marketing budget. I don't do cold calling. I don't, go do blind pitches anymore. Luckily by year 14, most of our new business is referral
Right.
or something we've heard about and we're actively pursuing. And so those are the types of groups that'll come to MG Cup. The reason why I don't want to be, the reason I don't want it to be tilted too heavily toward clients and prospects versus friends and family is because there's no way I'd be able to give all of them the same amount of attention in just
Point.
one day or in 2 days or whatever. The weekend has evolved into, I stopped being able to have fun on the day of MG Cup because I was so damn busy. And it does feel like a wedding. It feels
Right.
like an annual wedding, and it costs like an annual wedding.
Yeah.
But, um, I want my clients that are flying in from out of town to feel like I'm giving them personal attention and that I'm totally engaged and happy they're there, and I am.
Right.
If you start making it totally corporate, you lose the ability to have that interface, that one-on-one reaction. And I learned that from my two sisters' very different weddings. My oldest sister had a beautiful wedding with like 400 or 500 people in a big Catholic church in Columbus. And after it, she said, it was great. It was beautiful, but like, I felt like I spent time with everyone except the people I wanted to.
Mm.
And my middle sister had a destination wedding with like 25 people, 30 people. And it was the 25 and 30 people she really wanted to be there. And it was like a 4 or 5 day trip. And it was awesome. Like the whole group did everything together, you know, and it was just, that's what I wanted MG Cup to be more like. I could host an event with a couple hundred golfers. I I just don't have the interest to do that, because then
Yeah.
you get people there who don't know you, who don't appreciate the event. It's not family.
Right.
Like I want it to feel like friends, family, and I want my clients to feel that they're there because they're friends and family now,
Yeah.
not just because they write me a check every
No, you're
month.
exactly, and you do a very good job of that. And I think more people should take that cue when putting events like that together. Now, you are known for not just giving nice swag, but top shelf swag. No question about it. I mean, look, this Fox Chapel hat. It's fantastic. The belt we got this year. I could go on and on. I mean, those little tumblers from last year's MG Cup. I mean, it's good stuff. So talk about your, what do I want to call it? Your personal rule on swag. And then also, is there some swag over the 14 years that just became a cult favorite that everybody's talked about over and over again?
Right. I mean, running a golf event, learning how to do that is sort of like learning how to be a lobbyist. y- I learned how to lobby not from lobbying, but from being lobbied.
Mm.
I worked in the government so long enough that I probably met with 1,000 different lobbyists, and I learned which ones were good at it, which ones were effective, what wasn't. And so when I went out to lobby on my own, I took the cues from the people that I thought were effective, and the ones that were effective were the ones that really, really took the time to invest in the personal relationship, either playing golf, grabbing coffee, learning about my family, caring about what sports teams I liked, like really getting invested in it. And then learning about how to host a golf outing, you kind of start with, okay, you and I have both been invited to tons of them. What made the good ones good? What made the bad ones bad? Is really a good place to start. But when it comes to the gifts, like I've always been amazed at how many gift bags I've been given over the years with stuff I never used.
Yeah.
And I hate throwing shit away. Um, but you go through your closet, and because you don't want to throw it away, you have things that are like in your closet for like 5, 10 years. You're like, I'm never gonna wear that hat with a logo this big. I'm never gonna, I wouldn't wear those shoes. I wouldn't wear that shirt. And they still spend a lot of money on things that people don't like. And so my rule is I won't give anybody anything down to the teas, the candy, the potato chips, the energy bars, the shirts, hats, whatever, that I wouldn't personally enjoy wearing, like wearing, be proud to wear or
Sorry.
use. And yes, it costs more money. And sometimes I think part of what makes the event successful, obviously, it's the people. The golf courses are great, the staff are great, the facilities are great. Um, but I think people look forward to seeing what the swag is each year. It's like you look at the Oscars swag bags, and that's sort of kind of an inspiration in some way of like
Uh-huh.
the really cool shit that the nominees all get in their
Yeah.
swag bag. It's ridiculous.
Right.
Ours aren't that good.
No, they're
Um,
ridiculous, Rob. It's ridiculous. Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
very good. And I mean, I want you to know from the guys that get so privileged to get invitation to come on this trip, like, we're blown away every year by the stuff that we get, and we're really excited about it. We wear it all the time. I'm wearing this hat tonight. You think about, like, when I got my hole-in-one at Southern Hills a couple weeks ago, Shambu was wearing the Fox Chapel pullover because Shambu got to come to do some filming and B-roll, and, that got comments on Twitter when I posted the picture. People were like, "Man, look at that Fox Chapel swag," and I was able to say, "Yeah, it's because of my buddy's,
Yeah.
his
And
lobbying
and
firm and his event."
and the thing is too, you want to create buzz where
Yeah.
people are like, "Can you believe this event? Can you believe the gifts they give?" And so, recently last year, I'll give a shout out to Toomey. I reached out to Toomey for the duffel bags, and I explained the charitable element of the event, the group. I'm like, "Look, we have a group of high earning, um, you know, late 20s to mid 40s." I mean, actually, this year we spanned from age 15 to 81.
Yeah.
But you have high income golfers who travel. All of these brands, when they provide a big discount to me for bulk purchases for the swag, and they'll customize it for free, they know that these guys might be customers for life.
Oh,
They
yeah.
might keep coming
That to
back
me
to us.
bag is so good. I take it on every overnight trip that I go on, and, like, I'm at a phase right now where all of our luggage is just on the verge of needs replaced. Some of the zippers are going bad, and we're looking at Tumi because we know how good that bag is. You also you know how good the brand is, but sometimes you maybe don't feel like going for that extra purchase price that's a little higher up. But because I'm using this Tumi bag, it's the first Tumi product I've ever had, and I love it, I'm much more likely when I go to purchase luggage to probably get Tumi.
Well, and I love giving gifts that people may not ordinarily go out and get for themselves. And so to me, I mean, I think they gave us 40% off. Um, and then they customized each bag with the initials for free. They usually would charge like, I don't know, 25 or $30 for that
Mhm.
a bag. They ate that. This year, I mean, I'll name the brands like Bodamine does a men's skincare line, and I didn't even know Brad Pitt owned it, but I wrote a really thoughtful email to their website, and they sent a letter back from him, basically
Oh,
saying, "I'm blown away by your story. I love the event. Um, you know, uh, Brad Pitt has been receiving free everything, skin products before award shows for 40 years. And he's like, this is the first one that worked for me. I'm glad it worked for you. By the way, I'm going to send you 35 uh, skincare sets for men for free." And the retail value of those would have been like, I don't know, 6 grand. Um, and then Surrey, the electric toothbrushes, I thought it was just a really cool design and sleek, and I've been using it for the last 6 months. And I wrote them a nice note. They gave us 45% off. Henson Razors gave us in that neighborhood 40% off. So because it's a charitable event and because of the crowd that we're pulling together, even RTJ and Fox Chapel gave us deals because they know a lot of the guys that are in that crowd either have podcasts, are influential on Instagram, travel a lot. We had multiple panelists for Golf Digest, Golf Week, and Golf Magazine.
a lot of money spent
Get
in their pro shops.
a lot of money in our pro shops, and they're delighted to have people recognize the Fox Chapel or RTJ logo
Yeah.
online, and so you're already seeing it. So I've really started to work with the companies directly to get the best deals possible, and that's why we're able to get, you know, top tier, high end stuff. Um, and it's because of their generosity too. But it is a lot of legwork. Um,
Yeah.
you know, going back and forth, pinging with each of them, trying to get the best deal possible. But
Let's just say
yeah, I'm always
you probably never had anything go wrong. You probably never had any headaches. Everything's just been smooth sailing,
yeah.
just
Well, this
perfect, lollipops and rainbows, right?
yeah this year the frustrating part leading up to it um was I really didn't get to sleep like the 3 or 4 nights leading into the event. And you would think, oh, he must have procrastinated or waited to the last minute. That's what like pisses me off more than anything. I made two fundamental mistakes, and neither of them involved procrastination. I had this thing wired and done. Like I'd been testing all the products for a year. I had everything ordered in, all the details ready to go a month ago or more. I mean, this thing, like I could have slept the week leading into it, but I made three mistakes. Um, One is I moved within 2 weeks of the tournament. And so like I was literally going through boxes and
Another
cutting
reason for our
through.
listeners why we've been lax on getting, I mean, not only have we had a lot of work, we've had the NG Cup, Rob also had to
Yeah.
move in the midst of this.
Yeah, so like moving sucks. Like I don't care how many people you hire to help.
Yeah.
Um, you still have to go through boxes and sort things and do everything. So I mean, even just packing for MG Cup, like Jake Marvin came in on or Tuesday morning. So like I had a handyman here, like finishing things on Monday for 10 hours. We played golf Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which was kind of overwhelming. Rich Levine came in early too. So we were golfing every day and having dinner at night. And I'm like, I have a lot to do. But the worst thing that could have possibly happened was I got a new iPhone and laptop. And in the process of wiping the old ones, it wiped out all of my notes for MG Cup. Like that might not sound like a big
Oh,
deal,
no, that's a
but
big deal.
every email I send out to the group can take hours to write. Um, so like it's not just team pairings. The team pairings are relevant because I got to know what size polo vest, you know, uh, handicaps, what time they're playing, what room they're staying in, dietary requests, what time people are arriving and leaving so that the RTJ
Uh-huh.
staff know, the cottage that they're in, who's coming to Pittsburgh, who isn't.
Make sure people pay their bills, all the, I mean, you got a
Make
lot. You got a
make
lot
sure
going on.
all the charitable stuff. So like if somebody texts me, one guy did who I love and I will not name, texted me to like change his tea time to accommodate something. And I was like, I tried to figure out how to do it, but I make the pairings a lot of times like the pairings can be based on multiple factors. Some of the earlier pairings are what they are because I'll put the best golfers out first,
Mhm.
like the most serious hardcore golfers
Also helps pace of play.
out first, and it helps set the pace. Um, but the other factors are I really make sure the personalities fit. I want to make sure that any group that a client is in that I'm not in are with 2 or 3 other people that they'll enjoy playing with and will be a good representation of the firm. Um, and then it comes down to on changes, more trivial things. Do I have a uniform in their size? And so when you
So we're gonna
shift
show on the
what,
screen here, we'll show some uniform pictures here. I mean, these you do it right. I mean, it's not just that you get swag, but you have team gray versus team blue, your team blue and Brad's team gray, and it just sets up a great dynamic
well, and we did
for the day.
G4 this year, and G4 was awesome to work with. Um, The only challenge, and I think these might be some of my favorite. We'd never done long sleeve polos before,
Love
which was
mine. Love it.
which was risky, and we've never done vests before. So I wanted to mix it up, and I think like the quality and the look is perfect, and I really like G4. The only challenge we had was that it's a really tailored fit, and so um, Marty Russo wears a 2X tall. He's like 6'4". He's a big guy. Like they don't make a 3X, they don't make a 2X tall, and their shirts run about a quarter to a half size small. And the vests were roughly true to size, but we started getting a scenario where people were like, "Well, I'm a medium in the vest and a large in the shirt." And then they'd get there the day of and put it on and it'd be too tight. And then I had to like scramble, find find an extra, get people to switch if somebody had something that was too big. And I bought extras just in case of that. But like you end up spending an inordinate amount of time on that,
Yeah.
because nobody wants to play in clothes that are too tight, and they're expensive enough even with a discount that you don't want somebody like,
Sure.
you know, that's not happy with it and not going to wear it. It defeats the purpose of getting nice shit. So yeah, there are like a million headaches. So before next year, I am not going to move again. I am not going to get a new phone or laptop. I hadn't, my Wi-Fi wasn't even set up yet. So it hadn't stored in the cloud. I don't even know what any of that even means. I'm a big tech lobbyist and I am,
Hey, you don't have
not
to know
gonna
how their stuff works. You just have to know how to get their bills through Congress. So it's all good.
I know how to get something killed, passed, or amended. That's what I know how to do.
Well,
But
I can tell. I mean,
the
look, one thing that it was just fantastic. We were going to do a birdies and big ideas match. You and Nick Kirsch versus Casey Lang and I, and this just goes to show, like, it was probably foolish for us to even schedule that because we just know, like, there's so many things that you're dealing with that day that it does make it hard. But Rob, I want to tell you, you do a great job. Uh, I can tell you that everybody that I know thinks it's one of the highlights of their year. Can't wait for next year. Thank you so much for inviting me and letting me be a part of it. I'd like to close it with this. I've only been to 2 MG Cups, but I think this was a new thing last year, but I found it very special last year and again this year. You've honored somebody from the political world with an MG Cup life.
lifetime
Remind me, it was a Lifetime
appreciation.
Achievement Award,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
believe, appreciation award. Last year was Wayne Vallis, who was one of the best podcasts we've ever done. I think it was episode 2 or 3, 4, somewhere in that range. But this year, you also had somebody that was one of our first podcast interviews that you honored, former Congressman Marty Russo. And we'll show some B-roll of that presentation here on the screen. But tell us, what does Marty Russo mean to you, and why did he get this award?
Well, Marty, just like Wayne, um, really embody the event. I think they embody what MG Cup is all about. They embody what the Golf and Politics podcast is all about. They are mentors. They are father figures. They are friends. They are golf buddies. We've both done business together. Um, they're both, were instrumental in getting me into RTJ and introducing me to lots of people. Um, but more importantly, they've served our country in such a way that I know you and I both aspire to. Um, One thing that Marty Russo and Wayne Vallis will both tell you is that when it's all said and done, and you look back on your political career, the things you remember the most and enjoy the most are the victories when you did it the right way, when you brought more people into the fold, when you worked with unlikely allies, um, people who on any other day might be an opponent, but you were able to find common ground to get something done. And one of the things I said at the wine dinner and reiterated Friday was that I can't think of a single major congressional or presidential achievement, and I'm sure this is the same for governors and state legislatures, that weren't bipartisan, that didn't take some courage. Um, Marty Russo as a Democrat was instrumental um, in getting a lot of Ronald Reagan's reforms through. You know, people give Tip O'Neill a lot of credit, but Marty Russo was his warrior.
Uh-huh.
Marty Russo was the one that was actually going around squeezing arms and putting the grip on Democrats that didn't want to help a Republican administration at all. I've seen him do it for Bill Clinton, for George W. Bush, Obama, Biden, and a little bit less under Trump just because Marty's retired now. Um, but I actually know that's not true. I worked with him. Marty and I got a bill passed through the Republican House during Trump's first term in 2018. A bill that um, the prior lobbying firm that represented them couldn't even get them a hearing, let alone a vote. And we got the bill with an equal number of Republican and Democratic co-sponsors. It sailed through committee and sailed through the House, and then was a little more contentious in the Senate. But I saw him at work, and I wanted to honor him not just as a politician and a golfer, but as a man and as a citizen, which I still think is the greatest title any of us can hold is citizen. And I think citizen requires a proactive, engaging element by all of us more than just voting. I mean, voting is the bare minimum we can do, and we should do it. But, great citizens are the ones that are holding up their church, are holding up their PTO or PTA meeting. You look at any organization in a civil society, and you're looking at 10% to 15% of the people that are really the ones making it all work behind the scenes. The ones that are like putting your, uh, church fundraisers or breakfasts or lunch together, the ones that are going to the school and the parents that are really making sure
Yeah.
that, that prom happens, things that you don't even think about.
Right.
There's always a couple handfuls of people who are really putting in the sweat equity.
The 80-20 principle, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
20% that are doing 80%, and
Well,
a lot of times they don't get the credit.
Yeah, and Marty Russo he lived his life in that 20% and
Yeah.
really even higher than that. I don't mean economically. I mean, well, that too. But because of his hard work
Right.
and because of everything he did, and we were just thrilled to engage him. And I think of anybody over the last 14 years, no one wears their MG Cup swag more than Marty Russo. I
Oh, that's
mean,
great.
Marty loves he likes a good free gift, and he wears it with pride every time I see him. I don't think I've seen Marty other than when we were on the Hill lobbying. I don't think I've ever seen him in golf clothes that weren't MG Cup. So it was just the right thing to do to honor him.
Well, Rob, great event. Thank you for letting me be a part of it. Thank you for telling our listeners about it. Hope that our listeners out there that are going to be hosting their own events, or a charity outing or a corporate outing, that they can pick up some things of value from this podcast. I look forward to seeing you next week. Heal that wrist up. Rest that wrist so it's healed up for next week,
Yeah,
because we got a big match with Keegan at Southern Hills, and we're going to raise some money for childhood cancer, and just get to spend some good time together. I know Mulligan is excited to see you. He
I
likes you
I
now after the
hey,
first time.
Mulligan and I are tight now.
Yeah.
I mean, that I've my first impressions have never always been unanimous. Um, so
In fairness to
usually,
Mulligan, the first time you met him, we rode into the house at about 1 a.m. And so, he might have just been a little spooked. What are people coming into the house this late at night for?
well, we were driving back from Kansas to
Yeah.
your house in Tulsa, and the guest room was right in the line of sight of Mulligan the dog, and Mulligan about bit my face off, and we we mended fences. We got to a
Oh
point where
yeah.
we were cool, and then the last time I came, Mulligan just walked. He just trotted right up to
Oh
me
yeah.
and licked my hands and couldn't have been nicer. There wasn't even a bark.
Yeah,
So I think we're boys now.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for listening. Check us out. The number one thing we're going to ask you to do is go to golfandpolitics.com. Sign up to receive our email newsletter. It'll come out every time we put out a new episode. We won't spam you, but it's important to get you signed up there. Anywhere we get social media or content, we're there. Follow us, and we'll keep bringing you great content. So, Rob, thanks for a great interview, and see you next week, brother.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Looking forward to it.